Jacques Cousteau was a writer, filmmaker, explorer, and innovator. He was born on June 11, 1910, in Saint-André-de-Cubzac, France, to Daniel and Elizabeth Cousteau. At the age of 20, he joined the French Naval Academy. He studied there for 2 years as a naval pilot until 1932, where he was involved in a car accident that caused him to break both of his arms. This ultimately changed his plans from being a naval pilot to becoming an ocean explorer. In 1937, he married Simone Melchior and within the next 3 years had 2 children, Jean-Michel and Philippe. In 1943, along with Émile Gagnon, Cousteau designs the aqualung for breathing underwater for his first film, 18 Meters Down, that was also produced by himself.
Cousteau and Gagnon began working on the aqualung to help them have longer amounts of time to gather food at the bottom of the Mediterranean. Since it was 1943, World War II was starving the majority of France. As a result, many people would go free diving in the Mediterranean for shellfish. It took a few tries, but after some tinkering with the regulator, Cousteau and Gagnon finally created the aqualung that felt natural while breathing and could last for about 1 hour at sea floor.
2 years later, he formed the Undersea Research Group to further study marine life. In 1951, his ship, the Calypso, set sail on its first voyage. Then in 1952, the Calypso was funded by the National Geographic along with other organizations.
After acquiring a British minesweeper from a friend, Cousteau converted it to a research lab called Calypso. With Calypso, Cousteau was able to explore and learn about the undersea world with his research crew. Through that research and his love of films, Cousteau was able to make movies and television shows to educate the public about the world under the water. He was able to squash many ideals of the public that were all non-scientific.
The best example would be sharks. A common misconception is that women are more prone to shark attacks than men. Most people assume that sharks will attack any human around because they are drawn to blood, and since women have menstrual cycles, they are at higher risk. All of this, however, is non-scientific. Cousteau helped discover what agitates sharks and what lures sharks to feed. While they discovered blood does attract sharks, scientists knew menstrual blood differs from regular blood. This scientific evidence proves that women are not at higher risk despite the popular belief. In 1953, Cousteau's first book, The Silent World, was published. In 1956 and 57, a film was made based on the book. It won highest award at the Cannes Film Festival, and then it later won an Academy Award.
In 1960, Cousteau helped prevent the dumping of nuclear waste in the Mediterranean by organizing campaigns against the nuclear elimination plan of the French government. This relates to many issues of today because many endangered species come from ocean radiation. In addition, we introduce other foreign materials such as sunscreen, sewage runoff, and excess amounts of carbon dioxide, which are all being absorbed into the ocean and are causing long-term effects on animal and plant species.
In 1961, Cousteau is honored with National Geographic Society's Gold Medal for his contribution to science.
One of Cousteau's greatest achievements, other than the aqualung, was his work to create the first populated underwater habitats. Throughout the 1960s, the Cousteau team constructed 3 consecutive continental shelf stations known as Con Shelf 1, 2, and 3. The con shelves were designed as a series of underwater living and research facilities. Originally, the 3 stations were to be a part of a 5-station project that would be at a depth of approximately 1,000 feet, but since the project would take a decade to complete, only 3 were made and could only withstand a depth of 330 feet. The first con shelf was constructed in 1962 in 33 feet of water off the coast of Marseille, France. The habitat was a steel cylinder that measured 16 feet in length and 8 feet in diameter. The following year, Albert Falco and Claude Wesley became the first oceanauts to spend a week beneath the surface of the water. Each day, the 2 men spent a minimum of 5 hours exploring the outside habitat and cultivating the sea farm, during which they were able to make basic observations about the surrounding marine life. Neither Falco nor Wesley seemed to suffer any ill effects from the week under the surface, and as a result, the first Conshelf mission was deemed a success. In 1963, the Cousteau team stepped up their efforts and began to work on the Conshelf 2. In the end, the second Conshelf was a star-shaped living habitat, similar to that of the first Conshelf, had a submarine hangar, and could go to a depth of 100 feet. This time, however, 5 oceanauts lived in the habitat for a period of 30 days. All of the experiments conducted during the second Conshelf mission, including the physiological effects of diving and pressure, were recorded in Cousteau's Academy Award-winning documentary, World Without Sun, in 1964. The third and final Conshelf was the most ambitious. It saw 6 oceanauts descend to a habitat at a depth of 330 feet in the Mediterranean Sea between Nice and Monaco. Although this mission was deemed successful, it also signaled the end of the Conshelf missions and of Cousteau's support for marine exploitation. These missions also proved that while humans are capable of living underwater, many underwater industrial tasks should be carried out by robotic devices rather than people.
In 1964, he received an Academy Award for his film World Without Sun. 20 years later, President Ronald Reagan awarded Cousteau with the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1985. In 1990, Jacques Cousteau announces a secret relationship with Francine Triplet after his wife Simone passes. 1 year later, he married Francine and began his Bill of Rights for Future Generations project.
Jacques Cousteau once said, "No aquarium, no tank in a marine land, however spacious it may be, can begin to duplicate the conditions of the sea, and no dolphin who inhabits those aquariums or those marine lands can be considered normal." As a group, we decided one of the biggest issues we have in marine researching is the misuse of aquariums. We all believe that aquariums should be mainly focused on the rehabilitation of animals to then release them back into the wild. Keeping them in captivity seems cruel unless they could not survive on their own in the ocean. If that is the case, then giving dolphins, for example, a spacious tank to live in is acceptable, but making them put on shows for reward like food does not seem just. Another issue is the incorrect use of waste removal. It is usually dumped into the sea because there's not many other places to put it. Things like nuclear waste, oil, and sewage are spilled into the ocean whether it's on accident or not, which is the result in many species deaths. Cousteau said the sea is the universal sewer, and unfortunately we completely agree.
The most iconic symbol of Jacques Cousteau was the signature red cap. The red cap appears in every episode of his television show, The Undersea World of Jacques Cousteau, and is a part of many of the dive sites in honor of him. The cap was and still is the trademark of commercial divers. Thus, when Cousteau and Gagnon invented the first aqualung, the red woolen cap switched to be the worldwide recognized symbol of a diver.
Jacques Cousteau died on the 25th of June, 1997 from a heart attack at the age of 87. He was buried in Saint André de Cubzac in France after a Roman Catholic Christian funeral. In addition, a street that runs near his childhood house was named after him, and there was a commemorative plaque to signify the work that Jacques Cousteau achieved to better marine life.
Growing only a few centimeters a year has taken millions of years to build the limestone skeleton of the reef. And though located in nutrient-poor waters, the coral has learned to thrive. But it hasn't done it alone. It has developed an amazing relationship with algae, a tiny plant that lives inside the coral's body. This connection is delicate, and the introduction of additional nutrients can upset this balance, leaving the reef at risk. Little fish, I'm trying to make a documentary film.
A film? A film? I've always wanted to be in a film.
I was just explaining the delicate balance between coral and the algae living within its body.
Algae living inside the coral's body. Come on, that's creepy.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Isn't. Isn't.
Whatever.
No, it is not the whatever. It's true.
How do you know? Are you a coral
I'm Jean-Michel Cousteau. And I've studied the ocean all my life.
Well, I'm Dory, and I practically live in the ocean.
Good for you. But now I must continue to make my film. So long, Dory.
Hey!
Anemones also share a delicate connection with their inhabitants, the clownfish. who live-
Clownfish? Did somebody say clownfish?
What now?
Carlin, burrito, this is... sorry, what was your name again?
I'm Jean-Michel Cousteau. Arrêtez la musique! I was trying to talk about anemones.
That's perfect, because this here is Mr. Anemone.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, Dad, you know everything about anemone.
Come on.
Well, all right. Anemones are really like snails, except, no, snails is not, no. Oh, they're like a bed of stinging hair. Yes, a large bed of, no. Oh, imagine if spaghetti could talk.
That's enough! If we remain silent, we may see the chameleon of the reef, the amazing cuttlefish.
Did you want to see him change color?
I-
I can help. I can speak cuttlefish.
Qu'est-ce qu'elle fait?
Can you please change color for us?
No.
There's Carrie. Hey, Karen. Frederico. Myron. My man, Myron. Bermuda. Hey, Enid. Yolanda. Phyllis. Gary. Hey, Gary.
Ça suffit! I'm trying to make a film here. Even the lovely Spanish dancer depends
Did
on
someone say dancing? Ooh, clear the reef. Papa's back in town.
Stop! Let me talk. The ocean where you live evaporates to form clouds. The clouds produce snow. The snow melts, feeding rivers, irrigation, drinking water, then down drains through sewers, all back to the sea. Everyone, everywhere affects the ocean.
Wow, amazing.
Finally, you're listening.
Yeah, I can hear the ocean.
Arrêtez maintenant, je ne peux pas travailler comme ça.
Thanks for watching. Bye.